All right, so
Oh,
let me
okay.
formally introduce you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
comrades and viewers, this is Comrade Dr. Deborah Hickling Gordon, who is our Shadow Minister on Culture and the Creative Industry. And me know say una never hear about this ministry. Well, probably una know Babsy, but the creative industry part of it is something that is new to most of you. No, Comrade Deborah is a comrade that has been on the ground working forever. She's a comrade that has worked with our previous party leader, Comrade Portia Simpson Miller. I'm correct, right?
Yes.
Right, Comrade Portia Simpson Miller. So she has been a technocrat with the PNP for decades. Welcome, Comrade Dr. Deborah. Welcome.
Thank you.
So
Happy to be with you and your fellow TikTokers.
all right, and we are also simultaneously live streaming on YouTube,
Hi,
right? So the
YouTube.
YouTube massive is also there. All right. So, Comrade Debbie, since them don't know you, please, I would love for you to start. We want to start with you giving the comrades a background as to who you are and what it is that what do you do?
Okay. Well, as Kamla said, my name is Deborah Hickling Gordon. I have been in the cultural and creative industries. This is about my 35th year working in the cultural and creative industries, mostly behind the scenes. I tell everybody that, like in television, you have presenters and you have producers. I've always been the producer. And so I'm the person who kind of gets everything to happen, and then the magic happens on screen and someone else presents it. And so I've worked in television, I've worked in radio, I've worked in the music sector, I've worked in theater, I've worked in public relations, I've worked in advertising, most areas of communication, and I've applied communication to music. So like I've been a music publicist. I've been in the cultural and creative industries forever. In the politics, I worked with Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller from when she was a minister at Ministry of Labour. I was with her for about 15 years on and off. I took a couple of breaks to go and study. And I studied cultural and creative industries, so it's something I know in depth. When I was with her at the Ministry of Tourism, former Prime Minister PJ Patterson created a Ministry of Entertainment, and she gave me the responsibility under Junior Minister Wickham McNeil at the time to be the convener for what was known the Entertainment Advisory Board. And it was then that I started to put the pieces together. People had just started to kind of think of culture and cultural expression as a business. And this is about 2002, 2003. And they had just started to think about it. And PJ Patterson was actually ahead of his time by creating this Ministry of Entertainment. And when I say ahead of his time, it's because the developing countries of the world, the developed countries of the world, like England and so on, were just sorting themselves out. And he kind of jumped on it. And he gave Minister Portia Simpson Miller entertainment, which she in turn kind of deputized Minister Wickham McNeil, and they created this Entertainment Advisory Board, and they brought on all the entertainment people, and I was responsible for coordinating that. So that's where the thing kind of came to me about how important the business of culture and the business of cultural and creative industries was. And so when she went to local government, I actually went up to UWI and did a master's and then a PhD in cultural and creative industries. Mine was the first in cultural and creative industries, like proper. And there've been a couple ever since. So That's me. After I went back to work with Mrs. Simpson Miller when she was Prime Minister, first as her special assistant. So I, kind of was in charge of all of her movements. Every time she moved, I was there with her. We planned where she was going, and there was a whole team of us. But I was kind of, they used to call me our handbag. They
Right.
used to call me Portia handbag. But they never know that I know, but that's what they used to call me, Portia's handbag. Because wherever she was, I was there, locally or overseas. And that's another thing. I learned a lot about logistics and planning of logistics, which is a part of the cultural and creative industries. How you get people to move, to ensure all the teams are in place, to ensure that there's welfare for the teams,
Right.
everybody's taken care of. And like I said, there were a lot of other people on the team who were doing bits and pieces. But in terms of getting former Prime Minister Simpson Miller to move, I was the person who was responsible for that. And that's creative industries in a way. I was responsible for collating her speeches. She had a huge speech writing team.
Right.
But really it kind of fell to me to put those pieces together. That's also cultural and creative industries. And then when she left, I went up to UWI, and that's what I teach. I teach
Okay.
cultural and creative industries at university. I coordinate the Bachelor of Arts in Cultural and Creative Industries. So I know it from, I've worked in the cultural and creative industries. I've developed policy in the cultural and creative industries, and now I teach cultural and creative industries. But what is also important is that it's about bringing a new and fresh look to what cultural and creative
Right.
industries is in Jamaica, because what has happened, we have gotten stuck in a rut with this thing that we call entertainment, and we have to look at it differently. So that's why I'm here, Kamla, to kind of let's see if we can talk through some of those issues, because there are a lot of them. And Comrade Leader Mark Golding, we had a couple of discussions. I showed him some of the work I was doing, some of the research that I've done, and he said, "Okay, let's give this a try." And here I am.
Excellent. Excellent. And I have a particular interest in the creative industry as a past student of Edna Manley
Ah,
College. And as you know, my daughter is also a student
I've
at
seen
Edna
her
Manley.
perform.
Yes, yes, you have. I know you have. All right. So culture, is kind of my thing. So talk to me now about Jamaica as that cultural and creative powerhouse, because we know that that basically our music, our culture has put us on the map, and Jamaica packs such a big punch for such a tiny dot on the globe.
Yeah, the recent Bob Marley biopic really reminded us of exactly how powerful we are in the world of culture and creative activity, cultural expression. And you see, because it crossed the areas of music and film, and because
Right.
it was shot here and it was a story about here, it made it very clear to us. It reminded us of how important it is. And Jamaica has always been a powerhouse in cultural and creative industries, not only in the business of cultural and creative industries, but also in the messages that we have sent to the world. We have inspired the world, inspired movements around the world, and through just the things that we sing, the plays that we've written, the performers that we've produced, and we continue to do that. Even as now we're having this discussion about Afro beats and reggaeton and so on. It's
Right.
very clear that comes from the core of our own dance hall. So even though we
Exactly.
feel that some of the things that are happening in Jamaica are diminishing, we may not be getting the same kind of recognition that we used to. We know that it's our thing at the base of what is still capturing the imagination of the world. So the problem though is that in Jamaica we have only just kind of always, and I'm talking for a long time, and given cultural and creative industries we've just spoken about it. We've spoken about what we can do or what we should do or what we might do. And there's a lot of prescriptions about what we should do, but we've never kind of worked out how we're gonna do it. And
Yeah,
that's what this PNP administration, incoming administration, is focused on. How do we do it? There, there was an examination of all the recommendations that have been made on cultural and creative industries across all the things that have been written and all the things that the people have said, and the people have gone to consultations and people who have been talking about it for years, and there are hundreds of recommendations. It's not like we don't know what to do. It's not
indeed.
like we don't have the ideas about what to do, but why is it we cannot put together a structured plan and proposal and process and policy to get these things done? And when we say what these things are, those things that can make the thousands of people who work in culture and creativity in Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean, to make them thrive.
Indeed.
Kamala, if I were to tell you that 50% of our creative practitioners are among the working poor, would you believe me?
Of course.
Yep.
You know, can I tell you, can I share a story with you?
Sure.
I was a very talented dancer growing up. Started ballet at 3 years old, showed immense, and natural talent for dancing. And I wanted to pursue a career in dancing. My parents wouldn't have it. Them tell me, you're mad? Go on a university. Go and go to
Yes.
the... Listen, I was discouraged because my father said, me go starve if me decide say I'm going to rely on
That is
dancing.
still the case.
Yeah.
Many
He,
people are told that it's too risky. There's
yes,
no future.
that's
What are you
right.
going to do with that? I'm not going to feed you up when you come back home and you can't find
Exactly.
no work. You're not going
That's
to make
exactly
any.
what my parents said to me that if I wanted to earn, I couldn't stay in Jamaica. I would have to go abroad to work.
But the truth about it is the numbers show us that some of that is true. So what we have to do is we have to change that narrative. Not only change the narrative, but change what we call the circumstances within which our cultural and creative industries exist. We have to create what we call an enabling environment. When we talk about an enabling environment, we have to find practical ways to find financing for our cultural and creative practitioners, to
Mhm.
ensure that they're properly trained,
All
to
right.
ensure that their intellectual property is rationalized. So
Right.
one of the things that I really find interesting about the cultural and creative industry is that it is one of the few sectors in which you can take an idea or set of
Mhm.
ideas and turn them literally into gold. Because once you have
Exactly.
those ideas and you sort them through and you protect them through intellectual property and copyright and so on, they'll always be generating revenue. So for example, you're a writer and you write a book, or you are a dancer and you do a piece of
Yeah,
choreography,
exactly.
or you create you write a play, right? You ensure that you register and own that copyright, right? The
Indeed.
intellectual property, and that thing will feed you forever. You'll
Amen.
always be earning royalty. But look at you guys as TikTokers. There's the new platformization. These new
Right.
platforms that have emerged. People who are making money from the intellectual property. Every time somebody click on your
Even
thing,
though even
right?
though TikTok
Or
started
click
in
on
Jamaica,
the other influencers, they are making money. Yeah.
Indeed.
So this is what we talk about when we talk about sustainable. Yeah, when we talk about sustainable industries, that's what this is. One idea continues to um, regenerate revenue for people once they have properly protected it. But that's the thing. We have to have programs that literally walk people through the process of protecting their intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are some of the practical things that we have to do. Another thing is there's a problem with money. Cultural and creative practitioners cannot
Right.
get money. Why? because they say that cultural and creative practitioners are unbankable. That
What?
just simply mean that, yes, that just simply mean that the banks are not taking a risk on us,
Yes.
because our jobs are we have jobs that are transient, so we don't have a 9 to 5, right? We work from gig to gig, so you might get a job now and it
And then it
lasts two
might be a
months and then the
while.
next one lasts 3 months. You might get 3 jobs for the year, but they want their money every month. You take a
Yeah.
mortgage, yeah, they want their money paid every single month on time. And sometimes you don't work in that kind of way. You might make a big money for Sunsplash or Sting,
Right.
right? And then you don't make any money for the next 3 months because you don't get a proper job, or the people who you are hiring you won't pay you. That's another issue. 3 months, six
Break up
months,
quick, right.
cultural and creative practitioners are not getting paid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that we need to look at in terms of the development of cultural and creative industries and the creation of what we call this enabling environment. And that
How
is
do
at the
you tie that
center.
into what this new phenomenon that they're talking about all over called the orange economy?
Yes, okay. So there are many different names for this thing that we call the cultural and creative industries. The orange economy really focuses on issues to do with intellectual property based products and services that are cultural and creative in nature. Now, there's a lot of confusion in terms of the names and definitions. There's also a lot of confusion in terms of what is included in the cultural and creative industry. So
Right.
some countries include sports, some countries include innovation, some
Right.
countries in include digital. So some countries include things like software development. I hear you talking about apps and so on.
Right.
Some countries include information and broadcasting. Our party leader, Mark Golding, has decided that what he was going to do is that he broke the area up into a number of different areas. They're really all a part of the cultural economy, but
Right.
he broke them up so that they can have specialist focus on these
Okay.
areas. So Wavell, who knows sports better than Wavell?
Nobody.
Who know innovation better than Andre,
Exactly.
right? Who can get into community tourism better than Janice,
That's
right?
right.
Who understand those things. So by breaking it up, and we have specialist examination of the various areas, he has actually done something that is really very novel and is really very forward thinking, and he called it sustainable economic growth. Now, that's another thing. We talk about cultural and creative industries all the time, but this government in particular has never included it as central to our economic growth plans as a
They've
country.
sidelined it. They've totally sidelined it.
Absolutely sideline it, right? Except for some people. There are some people who get will always get a bribe.
Indeed.
But
Indeed.
so and that's an important thing, when we talk about this thing about economic growth. So Julian speaks about the issue of a low growth economy, low tech
Low
economy.
tech,
I heard,
low tech,
yeah,
low growth,
low
low wage.
productivity, low wage, right? Cultural and creative industries in all its forms, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way to move the economy, to what party leader calls diversify the economy.
That's right.
Because many of the traditional industries are not doing as well as they used to. And the cultural and creative industries is the industry that hires the most youth cohort, the youngest
Right.
cohort of workers in the world,
Indeed.
right? So it's forward thinking by its very, very, very nature, right? It's technology driven by its very nature, and because now your intellectual property regenerates in value, yeah, you're always gonna be earning from it as long as you're marketing it properly. Yeah, then you're moving now towards a higher wage economy. So cultural and creative industries in all its forms, as I said, is all part of that diversification of the
Mm-hmm.
economy the leader speaks about.
Indeed. All right. So tell me about the focal points. Now, your focal points as the shadow minister. The two
Okay.
focal points that you have.
All right. So we have two focal points: culture and
Mm-hmm.
creative industries.
Mm-hmm.
So culture is really about who we are as a people. Yeah.
Right.
How we behave, things like our values and attitudes, what we believe in, what we want our Jamaica to be. It's about our identity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge part of our cultural expression. So our expression comes out of our culture. And
Right.
that's why we say that our performers represent the things that are happening
Uh-oh.
in the
Uh-huh.
country at any given time.
You're
In our
you're
culture.
you're chipping out.
Cultural and creative
You're chipping out and
industries.
in. You're
Oh,
chipping out and in. I don't know if you're in
are you
an
hearing me
area.
now?
Yes, it's better.
Better now?
Right.
Okay, creative industries now is it's about create is about bringing creativity into the economy. Yeah? Bringing the process of the creation of goods and products, music, art, plays, uh, software in some
Mm-hmm.
cases, toys and games in some cases, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things, and creating businesses from them, creating an environment in which people can monetize and create value. Now, value is not always money, right?
Right.
So you can create different forms of value. So you can use like the cultural and creative industries to solve problems. You can
Mm-hmm.
solve problems in crime using the cultural and creative
Definitely.
industries. Solve problems in
As app,
education.
the creation of apps, that's a part of the
That's a
cultural and
part of it. You
creative.
can use when you see Nikisha put out information, public
Right.
information. Yeah, comrade Nikisha. That's a part of the process, you know. That's and when she creates a video that everybody gets excited about, when comrade Tara does her little drops, the music drops
Right.
and so on, those things are used to provide information for people. So that helps with what we call sustainable development, the development of the country. But there's also the economic side that I spoke about earlier, which is about the creation of goods and services. But here's a problem now. The government has been speaking in the last 5 or 6 years about creating industries. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
we've been talking about the issues of creating industries. And they want the various cultural and creative industries to industrialize themselves. But they
Right.
haven't been doing the things that are required to create industries. So, for example, if we don't know what is included in the cultural and creative industries, then how are we going to create a plan and an economy? How do we
Indeed.
know what is included? How do we,
Uh-huh.
if they haven't created a structure? Yeah. If they haven't created the statistics, if they haven't invested in getting the statistics that are necessary to tell us what our contribution to GDP is, and they've been doing that for the past 8 years and still can't get it right, yeah, then that is a part of the process of industrialization. So they're leaving it to the market, but there are many things that need to be done by the government that only the government can do.
Indeed.
Government can only government can negotiate trade relations, for example.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
if we want our artists to go to Europe, then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has to negotiate
Mm-hmm.
with the European Union issues to do with visas,
Definitely.
right? So there's a whole set of negotiations that are continuously taking place. But there's also the issue, and I was having a discussion with a group just today about making films. Why is it that people can come here and make films about us? Why
Exactly.
aren't we why aren't we putting some of the rules in place to ensure that whatever films are made about us, you have to have a Jamaican director, or you have to have
I'm glad you
a
brought that up.
Jamaican something, right?
That's a very touchy subject for a lot of us.
It is a very touchy subject.
You know, we
So
just had the Bob Marley movie, and God bless how many Jamaicans were in a movie about Bob Marley. The lead actor wasn't Jamaican, and Bob Marley is a Jamaican. You know, I found that
well,
so strange.
let me tell you, that one is a very complex issue. And you have to remember too that cultural and creative industries are businesses, especially
Hmm.
for developed countries. Yeah,
Right.
they are into the business of business. And so they won't take the kind of risks that are going
Hmm.
to, create problems for their for the products that they are producing. We now need to place greater emphasis on the production of our own films.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up too,
And
because
that
we
is
see, you know, I'm an avid Netflix watcher, and I realized that the US is no longer the hub of filmmaking.
no,
They
that
lost that
changed
title.
about 10 years ago.
Right. So I'm
Yeah,
saying to myself, the world has moved away from US. A matter of fact, to me, it seems that South Korea makes more movies than the USA now. Not to
absolutely.
mention Nigeria, everywhere, Spain, the whole
Yeah.
of Europe.
And
Everybody is taking a bite out of the apple. We who have so many creatives here, I mean, our
mhm.
creatives are, I mean, on top
Yeah.
notch, even our actors.
Yeah.
Why is it that we aren't taking a chunk out of it? We have some good directors. Look at Storm Salter, for instance. Where is our piece?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's a question that has been asked for a long time, and that is why the enabling environment is important. We have to create the environment in which cultural and creative practitioners can thrive. So, for example, we need to provide the means by which they can distribute their products and services.
One second,
So, you make
Comrade
a film,
Deborah.
where you go and
One
put it?
second, Comrade Deborah. Comrades, the live just got flagged for inactivity. That means someone now work with me at all. Someone know what to do. Because they're saying I just had to verify the live. All right. So that means you know now engage with me. All right. Continue, Comrade Debbie.
Yeah, so talking about films, we need to find places where people can distribute their films. They make the film
Right.
where they're gonna put it. A lot of people are now turning to social, try to monetize. At last, there is somewhere where they
Right.
can
Exactly.
put it. But
Hmm.
there's a whole film model that we have to kind of engage with, that
Right.
that is not on social media. So we need to be able to find a way to make those things happen. Music as well. People need studios. They need venues. They need, there's
Venues.
a whole range. Say again.
I was
The
just reiterating
need
the
what?
venues. I was reiterating
Yes.
your point about the
Yeah.
venues. Yeah.
In particular, we need venues. We need to fix the venues we have. We need to
Hmm.
create new.
You're
Then
patching in
there's
and
then
out.
there's
You're
the
patching
issue
in and
of.
out. You're coming in and out
I'm
like
not sure what
you're
happened.
okay. Where you have like low
Okay.
signal. I seeing a low signal sign. I don't know if you go
No,
ahead now. Go
I
ahead.
have bar.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Then there's entertainment in communities. We
Hmm.
need to be facilitating those things, like the round robin, so that individuals can be making more money. In those, look at the what is called the night noises law. We
Yes.
have
Hmm. In and out again.
He says we need zones, and he's perfectly correct, and he's come up with many of those plans. So those
Right.
plans exist. We just now
Hmm.
need a dedicated team to implement those things that are going to make lives better for cultural and creative practitioners.
Now, Comrade Leader Mark Golding has a model in his constituency, the Trench Town model. What plans would you have to expand that model to other communities that basically could learn from what he has done? And he, not just him, but the residents of Trenchtown have created this model, this cultural model around the life and work of Bob Marley. Do you see
Okay.
where we could actually copy this model for other areas in Jamaica?
I think we can adopt and adapt the model because every community is different, right? But
Indeed.
every community has something about which they are known. Yeah. Most communities, whether it is a Kumina band, whether it's a Dopi
Right,
band, whether it is, whatever, whether it's art, there's some communities that are known for like crochet and
right.
embroidery, right? So essentially what we need to have is we need to look at organizations like JCDC, and we need to expand the mandates, match them up with SDC, yeah, get them into the communities again and get that economic activity happening around culture. Janice talks about cultural tourism and
Right.
community tourism, about getting the activities, getting the tourists to come into the communities in the same way that they did for the Calabash Festival. I remember
Yes.
Calabash in the first year,
Mm-hmm.
there were maybe 100 people there, right? And
Look at
now
it now.
you don't have hands to feed people at Calabash, and stories to tell them, they can't get enough, right? So we need to be able to do like what Treasure Beach did, identify the things that those that can become festivals. In I remember when I was at the Ministry of Tourism, they created a model around festivals. So I don't know if you remember, there was a time when there was a yam festival, a jerk festival,
Yes,
a
yes,
shrimp
yes,
festival, and
yes.
any kind of festival that you
Whole
could
heap of
find.
different festival.
There were all these festivals, and that is the way in which you build commute. So the musicians from there, the sound systems from there were getting work, the people who were making the food, the performers from down there, the costume makers, everybody in the value chain was
Right.
getting some work. So it's really about kind of energizing the communities about around their cultural products and services, in the way that party leader has used the trench town model to energize his constituency in that way, whether it's sport. I mean, can you imagine you go into Usain Bolt's
Community.
constituency, and
Yes, in Trelawney.
yeah, you can create a Usain Bolt museum
Yeah.
in Trelawney, right?
And the
That
Maroons
alone.
have done something similar in a compound.
Absolutely. But it's about not making it an arbitrary process. So it's not something that we do one off and so on, but facilitating through our institutions the growth and development of these programs and projects. So essentially, we have decided that we want to do things differently. We want to move things from analog into digital for the
Yes,
cultural and creative industries, right? We're moving from 2G to 5G,
indeed.
right? So we want to build on the greatness of the Jamaican people, right? We want to ensure that they have global reach. Kamla, every October, November, December, you see these art fairs popping up, right? People put
Yes. All over Ligani Art
all
Festival,
right.
up by
Now,
Hooklands. Yes.
now, one of the things that really irks me about that, right? It's good because individuals are able to make their sales, but let me tell you what's the problem with that. When you talk about a market for the art sector, you're talking about a table at Devon House, or a table at a
Yes.
fair once per week. That cannot be good enough. We have to create markets that are sustainable, domestic and international. We have to
Indeed.
create ways in which people can market their art and artisanship across the world. I just come in from Cuba.
Right. How was that?
That was remarkable.
I
They
spent
were
a year there.
they were able to show us some of the areas in which they have art markets
Right.
in the
The
center of
streets,
town.
they have streets, complete streets.
Absolutely. And the
Hmm.
artisans are always there. So it's not just one craft market.
Exactly.
There is there are districts through within,
Yes.
and there's music everywhere.
Everywhere.
How do we have a
Everywhere.
creative city of music, and you're battling to find live music in Kingston?
You can't find it at all.
Where would you go to find live music if you wanted to hear a live band?
Well, I don't know. That is the thing, you know, and I wonder. A lot of times I worry about our musicians. I realize that to
Yes,
earn, they have to basically go on tour outside of Jamaica because we don't have anywhere for music to be played. And on top of
absolutely.
that, our artists, when they try to stage these these shows, the police target them.
Not only the police target them, the costs that are the
Yeah,
attendant costs, and they don't have the appropriate venues. So every
right,
time you do a show, you have to be bringing in millions of dollars of equipment. Yeah, there's no set place where you have your lighting rig, you have your
right.
sound already there,
Hmm.
you have all the elements there, and you just kind of bring in the fancy elements that you want, right?
Yeah,
It, the cost to do that doesn't make it sustainable or inclusive. So there are some people
right.
who have money who can do it, and some people who are doing the big parties and have
Like the
made.
sound fest.
Yeah, well, I'm not
and
calling any
and
names. I'm
and
just,
everything tends to be pumped into those big expensive shows.
you say it, I never say it.
No, but it's the truth, and we have to talk about it because
Yeah.
sometimes the tourists come here. No, I just want to share my example. In the early 2000s, when dancehall was thriving, when I was a student of Edna Manley, we had street dances, Passa Passa,
Yes.
Ready Ready Wednesday, up by Uptown Mondays. Every night there was a different street dance,
Yeah.
and tourists used to flock to Jamaica to partake in that. A lot of these street dances, you find that a lot of tourists wanted to see the authentic Jamaica. Every
Absolutely.
community had a street dance, and you'd hear about them and you just dance hop. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
We
You
don't
go
see that
Monday,
happening
you go
anymore.
Tuesday, you go Wednesday, you go Thursday.
I
Yeah.
telling you. My parents
And
used
there's
to
a
cuss me off because my mother was like, every night you left a picnic with me about your God. But I was a student, so I tell them, say this, listen, I'm a student.
research.
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 Yeah, and there's a combination of factors that has kind of prevented that from happening. There's a cost,
Mhm.
and we can't discount COVID. COVID,
Yes, COVID was it took a big hit because of COVID.
yeah. Entertainment in kind of total took a big hit of, and there are people who are still recovering, still
Right.
who people who are still at subsistence level. Yeah,
Mhm.
they've not been able to recover since then. And then there's a crime and violence issues. You kind
Yeah,
of wonder when there's going to be a drive by, or you don't want
exactly.
to be outside.
Hmm.
It it's problematic. So there are a lot of issues that are troubling the entertainment space, the cultural and creative space, and some of them were not at the level of government. It's like we're turning a blind eye to them. Like we kind of, we know they're there, and we know something needs to be done about it, but we're not taking the bull by the horns to sort through some of those things. We want to take some of those kind of very, we want to look at the elephants in the room.
All
And
right. I have a question now
yeah,
about how this government is treating Edna Manley College. No, my daughter is currently a student there, and
yeah,
I tell you that when I see Edna now compared to where it was in terms of even the enrollment, the number of students enrolled,
yeah,
I am flabbergasted.
yeah,
You understand?
yep,
I want to know if it's a situation where we are not doing enough to encourage Jamaican or young Jamaicans into the creative arts.
All right. So it starts a little before Edna.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I agree with you completely about Edna Manley. Edna
Right.
Manley, first of all, is the remit of the Ministry of Education and not the
Right.
Ministry of
Mm-hmm.
Culture.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which is
that
crazy. That's
in and
crazy.
of itself is an issue, right?
Yes.
Um, so and if there was and it also goes to issues of the STEM and STEAM
Right.
um issue. So what we need to do is really have culture and entertainment as subject areas right from early childhood. We need to
Mm-hmm.
be starting with music appreciation, dance appreciation, people who understand
Exactly.
different types of music, who
Mm-hmm.
are understanding different types of dancing, who who are introduced to art at the level of early childhood. They need to matriculate into primary school and prep school, and there now is where JCDC needs to become much more robust.
Indeed.
Yeah, they need and JCDC really needs to be. It needs to be that it needs to be it needs to be resourced. It needs to
Indeed.
get the resources it needs in order to broaden its reach. Those students now will matriculate into high school, and there needs to be a really robust program, STEAM program, from first right through to fifth or sixth form, depending on the choices of the student, so that by then you already have a student that is that understands the rudiments of music, dance, theater, and how the technology integrates into all of that. So by the time they get to Edna, they are they it's not something that is reasonably new to them. Yeah,
Exactly. I'm
that's
glad you bring that up because a lot of the students at Edna Manley came to Edna Manley as accomplished dancers who
yeah.
performed at JCDC. I mean, we always used to say when the students come from Arden High or St. Jago High, we know so them well talent. You could see the talent because those schools used to provide to feed Edna Manley with a lot of dancers.
But
You
you
know,
see,
we're not seeing so much of that anymore.
the issue is though that there are some schools that are focused in that way, and
Hmm.
those schools usually do it as extracurricular activities, and those schools are usually financed privately. It's
Right,
not an entrenchment of artistic understanding right through the school as you would a STEAM curriculum. The
right.
government is unclear right at the moment. It's very wishy-washy whether they're focusing on STEM or focusing on
On
STEAM. Every
Steam.
time you hear the announcement, it's a different
That is true.
perspective. So it's STEAM school and six STEM schools, and then the
Hmm.
next announcement is something else. That's because enough care is not being taken to examine these issues, and this is the issue that matriculates all the way up to Edna Manley. And
Right.
I don't think that Edna Manley is getting the due that it deserves.
I don't
I
think
don't
so
think
either.
it is appropriately resourced.
Hmm.
But I also want to say that at the moment we have the most training in Jamaica
Hmm.
than we have ever had before for cultural and creative industries because of the plans that had been made in 2015. That's when those programs were being developed. Yeah,
Okay.
and earlier. So, but where are the students going? What are the jobs at the end of the day? So students are not taking the courses because
I want to tell you, say, the students when me go school with, I want to tell you, say, them all over the world are touring. So
well that
I used to say that's why, and that is one of the reasons why I pushed my daughter all the way because I didn't. Going to Edna Manley for me personally was a second coming because I did what my parents wanted me to do, and then I funded myself as a mature student through School of Dance. And
well,
those who went to school with me, I see them excelling. So there is this girl on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram who calls herself Chris Corio. She has like over 500,000 followers on Instagram, almost a million followers on See, Twitch is saying that Rebel is in New York right now. She's a dancer. She has
Right.
five. She have all over 700,000 followers on YouTube, which is revenue she's earning, by the way, because
Yeah.
you're going to convert that into revenue now when people watch her
But,
videos. And she teaches dancing on these platforms. She was at Edna Manley with
right.
me, and I will go a step further and say to you that I encouraged her. She was interested in physiotherapy, went on to do
Mhm.
physiotherapy, graduated with a second degree in physiotherapy, and
Right.
she is still creating, still dancing, still traveling the world as a dancer and making a ton load of money. So it's not the same anymore. I mean, dancers, when
Right.
you see these dancers nowadays, them all over the place making money. Not just dancers
Those
either.
are the
It's just Jamaica
opportunities.
is the problem.
Those are the opportunities that are available, and they're available overseas. And a lot of people say you really have to leave Jamaica in order to make it.
Yes,
And
you
one
have
of
to
the
go
one of
towards
the issues they
somewhere.
have at Edna, one one of the issues that they have at Edna is that the students who are not able to make it through their program are going away to tour in the middle of the program. So they're leaving their education because the money is calling them to either dance or sing or whatever it in on
They
the
have to
touring
make
circuit
ends meet, yeah.
overseas.
And the school fee
They have to
expensive,
make
you know.
ends meet.
And I hearing you,
Yeah. So
Debbie.
we have to
Go
create
ahead.
literally, and it comes back to that thing that we call the enabling environment.
Right.
We have to create the environment right here in Jamaica in which cultural and creative practitioners can thrive. I have one more bugbear that I think is really important to Kamala that we look at. We're going through a process of that we call now digitalization.
Right.
Everything is digital, right? And there's a lot of money to facilitate the process of digitalization, putting things on platforms, making sure that the technology is integrated into all of our programs. But the focus and the resources are being put into the digital, but they are not being put into the creative side. So, for example, if you build an app, somebody have to design the app.
Yes.
If you do animation, somebody have to create the music, right? If you whatever it is that you create, if it's AI requires content. AI is generated by the creation of content. So
Exactly.
if you are investing in the digital economy and not investing in the cultural economy, then you're literally shooting yourself in the foot
Foot.
because because the raw materials for the digital economy come from the cultural economy.
Amen.
And so you can't just be focusing on the digital and ignoring the cultural and creative industries that are facilitating and generating material for the digital economy. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's another thing that we have to look at. Yeah.
What about subsidizing the cost of education at Edna Manley though? That is something that we seriously need to look at because let me tell you, the school fee not pretty. It's more expensive to go to Edna Manley than most and complete a degree than most other colleges or universities.
Yeah.
We're looking
I
at
am not
upwards of five
making any
hundred thousand
promises.
dollars a year. We're looking at upwards of five hundred
Yeah,
thousand
you
dollars
hear
a
it?
year for tuition.
I am not making any promise that I have to go to Mr. Julian Robinson or so to try to defend without his knowing. These are all great ideas. We need to be. We're in the process now of bringing all the ideas into the pot, and these are discussions that have to be had at the level of the shadow cabinet, right? So things like subsidies and incentives and so on are usually those decisions that are made by a ministry of finance. So it has to go
Right.
into the pot, in that sort of way. But certainly we're taking everything on board.
Because that discourages enrollment as well. You
Yeah,
know,
it does.
when people realize that it's cheaper to go to a UTech and do a degree in marketing for less than $200,000, versus going to Edna Manley and spending upwards of $500,000 to do a degree in dance. And I mean, this is a 4 year degree, whereas
Yeah.
most degrees by UTech or US 3 years. The Edna Manley programs are 4 years each.
Another thing that is possible, I understand that there is a program that's being developed by the Ministry of Tourism, and this is another thing, the fragmentation of the cultural and creative
Right.
industry
Mm-hmm.
policy, to create training for cultural and creative practitioners for the tourism industry. You already have an entire school. Yeah, why
Right.
not create a curriculum and use those resources, use the tech resources to bolster Edna Manley? Introduce those programs there. If you want to bring on some of the teachers who understand cabaret and so on and so forth in a
Mm-hmm.
different sort of way, then bring them there. And that way you bolster the arts institution, and you also provide the human resource for the tourism sector that is necessary.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up the cabaret because this is something that is very, very. I'm happy you brought that up. Now, having spoken to Comrade Alun Asamba and
Mm-hmm,
Dr. Ryan Simpson about
mm-hmm.
the fact that Jamaican hotels are importing performers to perform at these hotels. I want to know now what a PNP government would do to address this. We have so many hotels. We see the ministry spending so much money to build more and more hotels, more and more rooms. And yet these hotels are not utilizing the local talent, which would be an avenue for a lot of creatives who don't want to go overseas. So what would you implement to
I'm, I'm, I'm glad
right,
you
go
asked
ahead.
that question. I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
you asked that question,
Mm-hmm.
Kamla. In 2014, we started an entity called the National Cultural and Creative Industries Commission. It was
Right.
chaired by Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller, and that was one of the issues that came to the
Yes.
commission. It is a very complicated issue. So
Mm-hmm.
when it came to the commission, we went to the Ministry of Labor and we said to them, "Why are we giving these people work permits, right? When we
Exactly.
can, when we have people here who require those jobs and can do those jobs." Ministry of Labor came back to us and said, "Well, it's not really a work permit issue. We give work permits based on the trade agreements that are made, that are either bilateral or regional." So when we have dancers coming from the Dominican Republic, for example, or
A
Cuba,
lot.
right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
say that that's where they're coming from.
Yep.
They are a part of CARIFORUM. And the agreement with CARIFORUM is that we have a reciprocal agreement, which means it works on both sides,
So
right?
are Jamaican dancers going to these? I don't see Jamaican dancers going to
We
these
not go,
places to
but that is
dance.
that's because we are not marketing ourselves to go there. They are marketing themselves and creating organizations to come here. And in some cases, the hotels are telling us that the organizations that they are creating, they create companies, they find places and they house the people. And the hotels are telling us that A, they're more efficient,
I
B, they
disagree
cost less. That's what the hotels are telling us, yeah?
because listen, I have been to Carrie Festa, right, with my daughter who has performed several times. And Jamaican dancers, and this is now the Caribbean Festival of Arts, and the Jamaican dancers are far superior to the dancers from these other islands. I mean, I've seen them. As a matter of fact, Jamaican dance companies are far more organized than any of these dance companies from all of these countries. When you talk about an NDTC, a
Yeah,
Lacadco,
yeah,
an Ashi, for instance,
right.
we are
But
far more
remember now, you know,
advanced.
I've worked in the hotel sector. I've been an entertainment manager at hotels. And remember now, when the hotels are hiring dancers and so on, they're not hiring at the level of an NDTC. They're not hiring at the level of a Lacadco.
But
They
you
are
have small companies that are out there struggling.
they are hiring at the level of the small cabaret shows that are
Yeah,
that are put together. But you see, the thing is, we again it come back to that thing that I call the enabling environment.
that is
We
right.
need to create an environment in which our dancers can organize themselves and offer themselves at the level of proficiency, at the level of economic level in terms of their price and so on, that the hotels say that they're getting from these imported organizations. Either that, or we need to gather the political will to
That I
go to
think that's more the
CARICOM,
problem. It's the
yeah, to go
political
to
will.
CARICOM and say, in the same way that Antigua said, well, we don't know about this thing about taking everybody, people, the opening up of the borders that happened in March this year. We can go and negotiate and say, well, we have an issue with this, but then that's seen as protectionism and that we're protecting our
Exactly.
market. So it's complicated. That's what I'm saying. But we need to face it. My father always used to tell me, nothing is impossible. It can
Amen.
fix. Everything can fix. And so we need again not to be hiding from the issues. We need to not be pretending that they don't exist. We need to be dealing on an equitable basis with cultural and creative practitioners across disciplines. Cultural and creative industries is not just music.
It's
Cultural
not.
and creative industries is not just film. There are 20
I'm glad you.
subsectors of
Right.
it.
Let's discuss those 20.
All right. So we did some research the other day, and we what we decided is that in order to organize the cultural and creative industries, you have to look at everything that is offered as cultural and creative industries. Among them are architecture, artisanship. So those people who are who might do like the craft on the windows and
Right. Yes.
Right. Audiovisual. Now, the audiovisual subsector is made up of television, radio, all screen areas, animation, etc., etc. That's a huge one.
Yes.
Culinary is another one. That's another big one.
Exactly. And we have the best chefs here.
Craft, which is different from artisanship,
Uh-huh.
right? But you can put them together if you wish.
Right.
Now, there's one sector that we don't pay enough attention to, but actually it's the part of everything cultural and creative. Design. Design is in music, design is in art, design is in dance. You need a stage designer, you need a set designer, you need a costume designer, you need
Exactly.
all sorts of designers right across the board. So that's an area that we really need, and it is a huge economic area. Then there's digital. That's included also in software design, all of the areas that we spoke about. Festivals, events, entertainment, and production is another subsector. Fashion. Then there is folk and faith based. So you have the Kumina
Right.
groups, you have the Dinky Mini groups, you have all those things that are heritage based, museums, and so on. Heritage, cultural, and creative tourism. We spoke about that already. Community tourism, community culture. Integrated marketing communication. So we're talking about public relations,
Right.
advertising,
We are.
promotion. All of these
Entertainment management, all of that.
all of those things. No, entertainment management comes under a new area that is called intermediaries.
Oh,
Intermediaries are the lawyers, the managers, the booking agents. There
okay.
is a whole subsector of people who are providing those services. Yeah. And they are making a lot of money. They are
I
making
know.
foreign exchange because they are booking internationally. They are
Mm-hmm.
managing people. Those are the business managers and the financial managers and those people who support the artist. Yeah. That is a subsector all of its own. Music is a subsector that has the recording industry, it has the performance industry, it has the publishing industry. All of those are separate industries within the music subsector. Visual arts has painting, it has ceramics, it has muralists, it has all sculptors, etc., etc. Performing arts has theater, dance, mime, etc., etc., etc. Right?
Yes.
Publishing has a whole rate. You know that publishing is actually the largest economic subsector for cultural and creative industries in Jamaica. You didn't know that?
Nope.
Yep. And that is because you can count it. Every
Interesting.
book that is produced has what you call an ISBN number.
Yes,
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 right?
yes.
And every book has to be registered with that ISBN number. So you have, in order to determine the number of books that have been produced from Jamaica, they're all coded. You can identify by the ISBN number
Mm-hmm.
exactly how many books have been published, and that's where you can count it. One of the major problems we have is that we cannot count the outputs of our cultural and creative industries. People have to make music across the country. Every studio put out tune, everybody in them backyard
Yeah.
putting out beats. But are we able to count that output? Are we? And if we
No.
can't count it, how we going to value
How we
it?
going to value it?
And
Exactly.
if we can't value it, then how we going to determine the contribution to GDP? So there needs to be an examination about and there are long stories about some of the things that are happening in government over some of these areas, but we don't have the time tonight, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then there's education, training, research, and innovation. That's a huge area in cultural and creative industries. A lot of money is being spent in research and innovation for cultural and creative industries globally that we need to tap into. But our government needs to create a research environment. They need to say, these are the things that we need to find out. Right? What's the
Mm-hmm.
contribution to GDP? What are the mapping? Who are the people? Where are they? What are they doing? Yeah? What are they creating? What are they making? That's all research based. And there's a lot of money in cultural and creative industries research. Sport is the next subsector.
Mm-hmm.
Broadcasting rights. Look at what's happening in Barbados. Oh God, when you look at Barbados, your heart hurts you. Do you see what they've done with their stadium?
No, what did they do? I haven't
Oh
been
my
following
God!
that.
They have renovated the stadium. They have cricket world cup going
World
on
Cup.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, just the broadcast the broadcast platform, when you get those beauty shots of Barbados, you can't pay for that, right?
Yes. And we missed out on our opportunities. So I'm still caught up about that.
We won't go there, right?
Yeah.
So, but essentially, the value added to sport, the merchandising, just the number of people who are working in that sector, all of that is seen. Sport in some countries is known as physical culture. It's a
Right.
part of the cultural economy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as we spoke a little bit about how party leader Golding has kind of split it up so that we can have
Right.
focal areas, but it's a part of what we call the cultural economy. And the last one is toys and games. Do you see how huge the cultural economy is?
Yes.
Do you see that we're wasting time?
Indeed.
Do you see that creating an enabling environment for people to thrive in these areas could change the economic face of Jamaica?
Well, I mean, if only the government would actually acknowledge that this could happen instead of thinking that it's only tourism. You see, what makes this government so myopic is the fact that if they should tie the culture to tourism, it would
Yes.
add so much value.
Yes. Now I'm going to throw some numbers at you,
Hmm.
Kamla.
Right.
Recently, there was a study done by Jampro. It's their own study, you know. Them do this
Okay.
study in 2019. And they determined that it's an economic impact assessment, which means
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
they're looking at how much
Mm-hmm.
money the sector makes, right?
Yeah.
So they have determined, they've been going with this number of 5% for years, 5% to GDP, contribution to GDP. The
Mm-hmm.
new study determined that cultural three subsectors. Remember, I told you there are 20, right?
Right.
Three subsectors contribute 0.09%
Wow.
to GDP. That was 2019, and things have
Mhm.
increased since then. Now, that study showed us that cultural and creative industries, those three subsectors, not 20, three, contributed more than mining and quarrying,
More
which
than mining and quarrying. Wow.
1.8%, more than electricity and water supply
Hmm.
to the whole country, more than hotels and restaurants.
That's interesting.
This is a Jampro study. I can send you the study.
Yeah, I would love to see it because you see, it means that this government is not, because it's, if they have the information right there in front of them, the only thing I can do is say that they don't find a way to benefit from it yet, so they're not gonna push it. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, you might be, or the areas in which they are already benefiting are being emphasized. Perhaps that's another
Yeah,
way to look at
where
that.
they can make the money. It's not about us, it's about them.
A better user so than me.
Yeah, it is what it is. We just have to call a spade a spade.
So if three subsectors, three, yeah, are making more than mining and quarrying,
Mining
figure
and
that
quarrying.
out, right? Then what about if we were to count all 20? What about the other 17?
Yeah,
What would that look like? Don't you think we need to get to counting?
of course.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
All right. So I just want you to remind the listeners about the problems that affect the growth of the cultural and creative industries.
Oh my goodness. You have till like tomorrow morning?
Is that many?
Yes, actually. So, first of all, we identified earlier that a large number of cultural and creative practitioners are amongst the working poor.
Indeed.
50% earn under the upgraded minimum wage that just started. $15,000 a week? 50% from, and this is from a study that was done again by the JBDC, a Northern City study. 50% of them earn under this upgraded minimum wage,
That's
right?
crazy.
People need jobs, they need markets, they need paid gigs, and we need to move beyond looking at cultural and creative industries as just a little singing and dancing. When people get those jobs,
A little side hustle.
a little side thing. Just come take that picture out for me. Just
Mm-hmm.
come, dance a little something for me. Just come sing a little song for me. Those things. We have to look beyond that. We have to look beyond exploitation, right? We need to pay people and not undervalue their services and ask
Indeed.
and be expecting creatives to work for free. So we need a
Exactly.
whole culture change, right? We need infrastructure. People need studios. They need places to display their art. They need places to sell their art. They need
Mm-hmm.
places, places that they can work. Just people, kind of, there's some co-working spaces and so on. But we need to look at it a lot more seriously and kind of bring it to scale. When there's the issue of people who are deemed unbankable, so there's a thing called financial inclusion. We need to find
Exactly.
specific ways to include cultural and creative practitioners. We need to find ways that we can work out where you can pay your mortgage 3 times a year because you know you're gonna get three big
Get a
jobs.
lump sum. Yeah. But
We
in
can,
the States, that's what they do because
they
creatives make a
create
whole heap of money. They just pay it differently.
yeah, they create instruments that
Right.
cultural and creative practitioners can access. So the second problem that we have is that cultural and creative industries is not articulated. It's not seen to be a part of the growth agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So you never hear it included as a part of that serious growth agenda. And we spoke about the low wage, low
Low tech.
productivity,
Mm-hmm.
low tech economy. By including cultural and creative industries, you then flip that script and you're moving to a higher growth, higher tech, higher wage economy. Again, we spoke about the intellectual property and how people are able to make sustainable wealth. The other thing is that the sector is growing and changing rapidly.
Right.
I went to an event last week called Shortlist. Now, I've been a part of the audiovisual sector since I've been 20, right?
Okay.
I used to work at the old JBC. I did television production. I've been president of Women in Film. All of those things. I've done all those things. And I went to this event. Haven't been for a long time. And I saw a whole new generation of filmmakers. When I was in
Wow.
TV, film, and television, you knew every cameraman by name. You knew every producer by heart. Yeah. You knew everything about these individuals.
Yes.
Now it's a whole new generation. Things are changing faster than the policy can keep up. Yeah.
Indeed.
And that's because we're not trying to keep up. We need to now be sorting through the ways that we can bring policy to where the market is now. And we need to be implementing simultaneously at the level at which people are operating. We spoke about the emphasis on digitalization, on content creation. We have to change that. We have to include the content creation in the funding and the investment in digitalization. We also have to change the fact that there is no Kamla.
Yeah.
Kamla,
Uh-huh.
there is no overarching plan or policy framework for the cultural and creative industries.
But
A
there's a minister,
framework.
so she doesn't have a plan. If there's no overarching policy or framework,
Let me
that
say
means
it
the
again.
minister don't have a business plan.
Let me say it again. Make I say it again, because we left a framework in 2015. That framework was updated in 2017 and again in 2019. Legislation was proposed in 2021. And in 2024, I anticipate it's gonna drop this year because we kind of been putting a little pressure on them, Kamla. We've been saying it over and over and over again, but I'm gonna say it
When I
again.
hear that, comrades, Babsy don't have a plan in our ministry. Then we wonder why it is that everything falling down. Not just, well, you have just said that sports is a part of culture and creative, the culture and creative industry because she's failing at everything. She's failing at everything, literally.
It's been in progress for 8 years. And,
Wow.
and they started with a framework. I left a framework through the National Cultural and Creative Industries Commission. It's been there. Lisa
So why won't they
did
use
a
it?
lot towards that
Right.
as well.
I'm wondering why it is
Entertainment did
that.
a lot of work towards that.
hmm
There's
I'm
more
just
than
trying to.
enough information for a plan to have been put together in the last 8 years.
I'm just wondering why it
Yeah.
is that they haven't even utilized the plan that we have or left there.
Yeah, well, maybe they're gonna say it wasn't good enough, but something. So we still have 12 ministries that interface with cultural and creative industries policy, 6 primary ministries and 6 secondary ministries. There's no sector structure. They say that they're working, so they say that it's joined up government governance, but very often, I work in the sector, so I see how it works,
Right.
and very often it's not very joined up. There's no classification. There's a different name for everything in a name. Ministry of Culture have another set of name. JIPO have another set of name.
Yes.
The Ministry of Finance have another set of classifications. It's a mess. It really is. So the fragment, and every study since 2015 has identified fragmentation as a problem in terms of policy. Let me ask you a question. You, as a filmmaker, if you had a problem, which ministry would you go to?
I'm not even sure. If you had a problem, you should be able to go to the Ministry of Culture. Who does Jampro fall under?
Film,
Yeah, who
film.
does Jampro
It's
fall
like the
under?
film commission. Ministry of Industry. If you're an animator,
What?
where do you go?
What? How does the Ministry of Industry fall into this?
Well, the film is seen as an industry. So, and the
Oh my
Jampro
God.
has the film commission. Has a film. If you
So,
no man answer
so,
the
so
question,
who
then no.
does Janpro fall
If
under?
you are a Ministry of Industry, so
So there's
if
something
you are
fragmented,
a
man.
animator,
Are you there? You're cutting out.
you are an animator.
Hello, 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 Comrade Debbie. We're not hearing you. You're cut out.
Kamla.
Comrade Debbie? Yes, I'm hearing you
Oh,
now.
I said this is School's Challenge Quiz. Yes,
Right.
this is School's Challenge Quiz. You're an animator. Where do you go for assistance and
It's not, and it's a different industry from where Jampro is.
Office of the Prime Minister?
What?
You are
What?
you want to be trained in cultural and creative industries. What ministry do you go to?
Training, I would think that should
Schools
probably
challenge.
be education. Because them are fling people all over.
Education.
So it's all over the
Gone
place.
tree now. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's one more. Training in cultural and creative industries for the tourism sector. Where do you go?
Ministry of Tourism. I'm bright enough, I catch on quick. Ministry of Tourism.
We're gone four, right? And these are major policies.
Oh
Okay,
my
let's
God.
go again.
What confusion. So
Each
you can't
one
have one
you
ministry
want
responsible for all of the needs of the creative industry. You have to fragment it and put it all over the place.
don't do. You want to figure out the contribution of creative industries to GDP. That's the economic assessment, right? Where you go?
Ministry of Economy, Finance. That's right, Ministry of Finance.
No, industry
Wait,
again.
industry. So we're still at 4. This coming
Yes,
like school's challenge for true.
right. We have a problem because our statistical institute is not equipped and has not been resourced. There's
You're breaking up again, Comrade Debbie.
energies for to measure. You hearing me
Boy,
now?
you're breaking up. You're breaking up so
You hearing me
badly.
now?
Yes, I'm hearing you
Are you
now.
hearing me now?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Our statistical institute, which needs to do that number crunching, they are not resourced to be able
Oh
to
boy.
provide us with the information that we require to be able to move the sector forward. Yeah. So there's a lot of work to be done. And
Indeed.
in the meantime, people are remaining below the level of the upgraded um the upgraded wage. Cultural and creative practitioners are hungry. 50%
Tell me
of them.
about it. Yeah. Working poor, as you said.
So now, yeah, Kamla, if you
Yeah.
have that information and you work within a ministry, what then becomes your priority?
Right.
To enable the
You
people
have
who
to
are below the
exactly.
line, right? Not to enable those. Well, I suppose it's trickle
But
down.
they
They
have to
believe that.
care because guess what? They're more concerned with the big players in the industry like your Joe Bagdana, whatever her name, Bogdanovich, and your Kamal Banki and your Scatterborrell and those top men in the industry than the small players that um basically help to build those top players in the first place.
So here is my thing about that. There is place for the enablement of that end of the market, but not to the exception of the other end of the market. We in the PNP are very clear that we build from the base
Mm-hmm.
of the economy upwards.
Exactly.
Right?
Not from the
So
top
we
down.
have
No
to
trickle down.
create, right? So we have to
Mm-hmm.
create programs that lift. You know what Portia said? Portia say you don't look down on anybody unless you are
Exactly.
lifting them up.
That is
Yeah.
right.
So that is
And PJ said only grave diggers start from the top.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And very same place, he's very clear that our economic plans must cater to the most vulnerable. And there are lots of people who want to do a round robin tomorrow and just can't find the money to put in. People who want to, to have a dance to send, to be able to make
Exactly.
a little extra money at the base of the situation. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
That's that
Not
that's our
hearing you again.
focus. We're bringing it 5G. Yeah, those are our goals.
Excellent.
And again, the issue of transparency is big for us. We can't have a ministry that is competing against the sector it is meant to facilitate.
Mm-hmm.
We need to see competitive bidding for projects for cultural and creative practitioners. We need to ensure that they have this thing called the cultural exception in procurement. You
Right.
hearing me, Carla?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
hearing you.
Where they say that because it is a creative activity,
Sure,
um,
Frank. Mm-hmm.
they don't have to go through the procurement processes of they can sole source. That
Yeah.
needs to become an exception and not the rule. We need to go back to ensuring that there's a competitive process by which everybody can bid for some of the projects that are happening within government, so that everybody has an opportunity to earn, you know? So there's a
Uh,
lot. Oh my goodness.
uh-huh.
Kamala, I feel like I've been
We
talking
have to
for
go do a
hours.
part two. We have some people who want to ask you some questions that have been waiting for a while. So I'm going to ask you to oblige for a few more minutes because we've been talking for a long while. I'm going to bring them
Sure.
on so that they can come and say, Granville. Granville, welcome. Go ahead, ask your
Why not?
questions.
I'm seeing one here. Why not read it? Oh, yes, Granville.
Blessings and love. Good evening, everybody.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Thank you, Right Mango. Your
You're
sucrose
welcome.
content is very potent, and I like that. I like that. Doctor,
Yo.
I I'm one of your I've worked similar industries as you. I'm coming from a Kenny Salmon. You remember Kenny Salmon? I don't know
I
if you.
do. He is
Yes.
foundation.
And a Patsy Ricketts.
Foundation.
All right. So I have that kind of background when it comes on to culture.
Yeah.
I myself did directing and acting at Edna Manley and also Excelsior Community College Performing Arts.
Good, good, good.
I did those
Good.
institutions. And I also was worked with the tourism industry. I was in charge of a program that you may have known called the Meet the People program.
Right. I remember that.
You remember that program?
Yeah,
All right.
it was an important program. Yeah.
A very important program. I managed that program for years.
Right. So people would go into people's homes
Yes.
and they would get an opportunity to visit a traditional Jamaican home.
Okay.
Tourists. Yeah, I remember
Okay.
that.
And I was able to expand that to other things. For example, I twin sports enthusiasts. I twin culinary enthusiasts. All that expanded it. But the IMF at the time, the restructuring program started, and they said they had to done away with that program. A serious box in the face. Um, it is programs like that out of the tourism subsector that was able to um, directly interface with the cultural and whether it is culinary, whether it is sports, whatever it is. So the tourists could interact. Go to I would take tourists to people's yard to have
Yeah.
sit
Well,
down round
that, you
stove.
know, I think that is why party leader has created the clusters in the way that
Mm-hmm.
he does, because I think he recognizes very clearly that the convergences exist across some of the portfolios, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's clear that culture has to work with digital. It
Mm-hmm.
has to work with tourism. It has to work with sport, and create converged opportunities, right? So
Right.
that's why we're all in the same cluster, because that's another thing. Many of the things that all of these sectors need, that
Mm-hmm.
are the same. They need training, they need access to finance, and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
those programs will converge and must converge, and so the people within the various portfolios have to work together to come up with innovative and cost sharing activities that are to the betterment of across those sectors.
No, I am not in Jamaica as regrettably so at this point. I just got my acceptance letter for my PhD program in a university
Congratulations.
and my plan is to come back. I mean, to do my work. So
Ah.
I want to do whatever it is that I can do for wherever I am to ensure that the PNP gets back into power. Now, from your angle, what are some of the ways you believe that we can mobilize um, and get the creative people on board with the ideologies of the People's National Party?
That is such an excellent question because it is very timely at the moment.
Absolutely.
Um, and I'm going to be discreet in my answer.
Okay. Okay.
There is a reconnection that needs to happen across disciplines, with the People's National Party and cultural and creative practitioners. There are some areas in which we are stronger than others,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially we literally have to find the ways to get into those to get to those individuals and bring them back home in the same way we would in any constituency that we identify individuals who are standing still, who are apathetic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to we need to work together, those of us that are in the sectors, to kind of bring people back home, to kind of make the connections, to connect them with the ideas, to have some of those meetings. And I'm happy to come to meetings across the island. I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy to come to meetings with people or have Zoom meetings and stuff with individuals and groups on various areas so that we can hear what they have to say. That's another thing. This consultation thing where we tell them what we want to do,
Mm.
not going to work. We want to hear what people need in order
That's
to
right.
kind of fix the issues that they are facing. So we're going through a process of outreach as well. And I don't know, can you send me a message or something so I know where to find you?
Okay.
And
That's a good
so
idea.
that we can include you on the database that we are building.
I
I don't
definitely
want to
will.
give too much away in
I
terms
know.
of that because
I know. I know. And
people
mhm.
have big ears,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. And since them not have nothing about them, they just thief everything and run.
Yeah, but essentially, just like any political party,
Mm-hmm.
we are solidifying our connections.
Okay, okay, all right. I definitely will follow you and we can connect from there on because I truly want to get what I can wherever I can, but I need to come back home.
Yeah, man, and we need all the help we can get.
Mm-hmm.
We need all the people who are interested just to make contact. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right.
Same thing we were talking about, Comrade Debbie. The creatives have to be all over the place except for Jamaica.
But me have to run, man. If
Yes,
I could,
it's true.
I couldn't. I was also with the JCDC. And I was the cultural organizer for St. James for
Wow.
about 2 years. When I left,
Yes.
when I left tourist board, after that program died, I went straight to JCDC, and I was a
Trust
cultural,
me.
and then I had to run.
Can I tell you something? Culture is one of those areas through which a lot of mobilization, political mobilization can be done. Can I
Yes,
tell you too that, you see, Miss Lou, I won't say she was a political activist, but she was a social activist.
Social
And
yes,
activist. Quite
she
right.
moved across the island and making contacts and using issues like language and culture to help people to develop themselves in communities. It's a huge part of what we need to be doing.
Indeed.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm very happy to have this discussion and to know that there are things afoot that will definitely place us firmly in the hand of leadership in the next when the next general election should go on. I'm very
I'm
happy.
with you.
I'm very pleased, and whatever I can do in my little corner,
Yes,
please.
man. First thing you need to do
I
is make
depend on the right
contact.
man, but yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll link you.
All
I'll
right.
link you
First thing you need
to
to do.
Comrade Debbie. Definitely. I'll link you to the
Okay.
two of you.
Okay. Fantastic. All right.
Blessings.
Let me go now. Let me go now. Make some of
All
this.
right. Let me let go your shirt now. Comrade Rado.
Yes, good evening to you, Kamla. Good evening to you, Comrade Hickling and other comrades. Yes, Comrade
Evening.
Hickling, I missed your beautiful voice in the on the electronic in the electronic media, my comrade. But anyway, it's good to
Oh,
catch up. Yes, 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 yes. It's good to catch up with that beautiful voice again. Yes,
thank
but
you.
yes, man, you're welcome. I must ask you though, comrade, Eklin, should you when we form the next government, right? And yes, and should you become the culture and creative arts minister?
Right.
That's the right portfolio. Yes,
Well, let
Y-
me
yes,
there 1 minute.
yes.
Um, the fact that we are shadow spokespersons
It's not a
is
guarantee that you
not
will become. Yes,
a
I know.
determinant that
Yes,
anyone will become a minister. That is the sole purview of a gentleman named Mark Golding.
I
We are
know.
here to sort out particular issues. We have been given particular mandates, and we're doing that. So we're just looking. I'm not looking beyond that. I want
Yes,
to do what he has asked me to do, and solve some of those issues. What happens in the next iteration is all up to him.
yes, yes. I know. I'm aware that the decision lies with him. Yeah, but should you become the next minister? Yeah, in your portfolio, what would be your first plan of action? Is there anything that you
My
maybe say?
very
Yeah. Yes.
okay. So you see now, um, I'm very careful about this part of the discussion.
Right. Oh
Because you
yes.
have people out there who
Oh yes. Oh
think that
yes.
they're
Oh
We
the
have
baby
to,
yes. Yes.
father
we
of
have,
the
I
idea.
understand.
what
Yes.
I
Yes.
will say, what
Yes.
I will say is that I have been working on a plan for the
Yes.
cultural and creative industries for the better part of 10 years.
Oh
Right.
wow.
And
Oh.
we have a remarkable task force that is working on fleshing out that plan. We will
Okay.
not be coming to the table empty-handed. That's all I'll say.
Right, right. I appreciate that given the climate that we're living in, and the copycats around there and all of that. Yes.
The baby
Yes.
fathers of the ideas.
Yeah, but I must say though, I'm impressed. I am impressed in terms of your wealth and of knowledge in the area, and I am confident that when if should you become the next minister, you will hit the ground running and you will be a wonderful minister. I'm sure of that.
Happy just I'm not just. I'm happy doing
Yes.
the prep work, and we'll see what happens at that time. But it's an exciting, and it's what I live for.
Yes, wonderful. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Thanks, Rado.
Yeah, man. You're welcome.
All
Yeah.
right. Take care. Anybody else with any questions? Remember YouTube, WhatsApp call 876-909-0980 in case you have any questions while we have Comrade Debbie with us on the live. I know that Anne-Marie had sent a request, but it looked like she cut off. All right. Well, Comrade Debbie, I know so them cannot complain about the detail and the wealth of information. Comrade Patmore will be on shortly. But I'm sure they cannot complain about the depth of the wealth of knowledge and information that you just shared. I know that you gave exactly as one of our viewers is saying, it was extremely detailed, a very detailed plan. And just to let you know that
You don't get
we
the
had
plan yet.
planned this. Yeah, we had planned this for right after the Minister of Culture had done her budget, her sectoral debate, but she postponed her sectoral debate. I hope she don't have spies listening to all the ideas in a Comrade Debbie.
Well, I don't give no ideas yet.
You
There's
don't give
nothing that
nothing.
I've shared. There's nothing
Okay.
that I've shared that is not in the public domain. That
All
is
right.
for them to look for it and for them to sort it out. We don't reach our ideas yet. We've just
Excellent.
articulated what the problems are, what the issues are, what need to
Indeed.
be solved. They know what they are too. They've just not done anything about it.
They're ignoring them. All right. Excellent. All right, comrades. So thank you so much for being a part of this platform. I look forward to hearing you again, hopefully soon, especially after the minister does her presentation.
Yeah, I'm
We have
looking
to do the
forward to
part
look,
two.
and I'm gonna be charitable. I am
Yes.
looking forward to what comes forth. I believe that the policy may be tabled, and and anything that is for the advancement of people in the cultural and creative industries, we will welcome. But if there are things that we think can be done differently or better, we will also say that that is so. Because in the end, we're all Jamaicans,
Indeed.
and it's about the Jamaican cultural and creative industries. But we know that some of the ideas that come from within our camp, and it's not just me. Again, there's a task force. The people who have gone before me. There is, Damian and Alun and Wicca
Definitely.
and Lisa, and even as far back as Comrade Donna, who was the parliamentary
Yes.
secretary for culture at one point.
Indeed.
There's a lot of input, and of course the party leader, who is absolutely dedicated to the cause.
I
Or he was
realize. I
in
didn't
the
know he was so deeply
yeah.
involved in the process.
He's surprising me too, Cams.
Yeah,
Some
I'm
things
telling
I
you.
hear him say, and I'm like, wait, you know the thing, man.
It's like, what is there that him don't know?
I mean, we were talking about intellectual property and
Yeah.
the legislation, and he was on top of it. We're talking about the maroons and some of the issues. He was on
He was
top
on
of it.
top
He
of
was
that
on
too. I
top
know
of
he's
it.
very passionate about the Maroons.
The history, some of the history things, as like party leader, props. You get my props, because I did not expect
Yeah, man.
really, but I'm excited that he's really into it, so that I know that we
Indeed.
have his political will.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Comrade Debbie. Let's catch
Thank
up
you,
again.
Cam. Yeah, man, we will.
Take care. All
Yes.
All
right.
right.
Enjoy the rest of the evening, Comrade Debbie.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes.
Have
Yes.
a good
All right. Take
evening.
care.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye.
All
Make
right.
contact if you want to
Yeah,
get
man.
involved.
And I will make sure to send them over to follow your page, your TikTok account.
All right. Take care.
Take care. All right.
Bye.
All right, comrades. That was Comrade Dr. Deborah Hickling Gordon, who is the Shadow Minister on Culture and Creative Industries.